Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Finally, we are starting the webinar. Thank you for your patience. I'm Priyanka, representative of Tantra Minds. A very warm welcome to everyone in this session. We are excited to be able to bring this informative and engaging discussion today. We know your time is valuable, so and thanks for sharing out time from your busy schedules and be the part of this webinar. So today we are presenting creating the right space for your suppliers with Tantra Mind's Supplier Collaboration Platform. So agenda of today's webinar is to quickly run through our panelists, obviously, then services offered by Tantra Minds, challenges in vendor collaboration management, overview of the product, how our platform would be the solution to the challenges you're facing, and then glimpse of our portal, and we'll conclude the session by question and answer. So before starting, a little housekeeping that please feel free to post and type your queries in the question and answer session. We will definitely take them up in our question and answer round at the end. So thank you so much. So without wasting much of your time, I'll start with the panelists. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our panelist of today, Mr. Amit Patil, Director of Tantra Minds. He's passionate IT professional with over 18 years of experience. He is currently leading a team of experts in building innovative products and which are designed to help customers leverage their existing IT landscape. And our other speaker is Mr. Nitin Deshmukh. He is leading product development team of Tantra Minds. He is the key person in terms of development, execution, and solution architect. So without any further ado, I'll turn the time over to Mr. Amit to give our audience insight of Tantra Minds and to know about more about our product and about the webinar today. So please, over to you.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me well. Thank you, Priyanka, and warm welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amit Patil. I'm director at Tantra Minds. We are a technology consulting and product development company. First, it's really appreciate that you all taking out time from your busy schedule and joining us for this webinar. I'm hopeful that you will find this webinar and our product and its offering useful. A bit about Tantra Minds. We are into consulting business for more than 11 years now, and through that consulting experience, we have gathered a wealth of knowledge across multiple industry, across multiple business processes, and across multiple applications. And we have used that knowledge to design and build our products, which I hope will serve the industry and help the enterprises and businesses to run their businesses smoothly, mainly into across the collaboration with the business partners. So we have deployed our products across the globe. We are a global company. Our headquarters is in UK. We are more than 200 plus consulting workforce, and part of that is also a product development team. We are not only technical team, but we also have industry experts with subject matter expertise across most of the business verticals, across most of the industry areas as well. So that's pretty much about us. I mean, there is a lot to talk about, but I'll probably wrap that up for now. But of course, there will be any further questions. We'll definitely be glad to answer those questions about us, about our customer references and other bits. So jumping right into what we have been doing for last 5-6 years is investing our experience and expertise into building very strong cutting edge products, and this is our product portfolio that is shown on the screen here. So we have various different products touching different business units across an enterprise. Today's focus will be on Supplier Collaboration Platform, and we're going to dive deep into this product and understand various different sub modules that this product offers and how it focuses on business processes and the pain points that business currently have and how it addresses it. So we'll jump into the Supplier Collaboration Platform shortly. However, just to touch upon other products in the product portfolio, we have invoice management, which is essentially an invoice automation process for the accounts payable. Suppliers sending their invoices through multiple channels, and they're getting automatically read through a bot from the inbox or wherever it's being shared through. And more importantly, not only reading and extracting the data, but validating that invoice information with the SAP information in the backend ERP system like SAP. For example, purchase order pricing, the good receipts, vendor data, vendor GST numbers, and all those bits and pieces. Automating those validations is quite important job, and that is done through this portal before the invoice is posted in ERP. And then we have customer portal, which essentially a replica of Supplier Collaboration Platform on the customer side. So a complete order to cash cycle from customer, and the collaboration through that cycle with the customers, right from the customer onboarding till the customer decommissioning, everything in between is covered through the product, and it sits on any ERP, top of any ERP, and handles the end-to-end process. For mid-market sector, we have our ERP application. We have e-procurement platform, which is essentially a platform which allows us to, if an organization is looking for a catalog-based procurement function, which is not part of a core ERP. So e-procurement platform sits on top of ERP and enables Amazon-like catalog function for the business users for browsing and selecting items to order those items. We do have some models like inventory management for organizations who are looking for small and focused functionality for inventory management. And then CS Collab. So we basically also provide a combined offering of supplier portal and customer portal. We call it as customer supplier collaboration portal. Typically, an organization who are looking to orchestrate a business process seamlessly between the customer and a supplier. For example, for a manufacturing industry, when the subcontracting process comes in place at the back of make to order scenario from the customer's order, if you want to get certain subcontracting material purchased, subcontractor engaged, and subcontractor automatically inform about what needs to be done in this process, then that complete end-to-end integration is enabled through CS Collab. And also in retail industry, for example, if there needs to be a cross-docking and those kind of scenarios, those are supported as well. So it's complete integration with both the important business stakeholders of an organization, the customers and suppliers. And of course, we provide a lot of analytical dashboards, which is pre-built on top of various different analytics platform, such as SAP's Analytics Cloud, or we have Power BI capabilities. So we have pre-built CXO dashboards, which can be plug and play depending on what your ERP system is. And we kind of provide those pre-built dashboards and reports, which gets you up and running within no time. So that's essentially our product portfolio. But today, I will not dwell into more into other products. We will focus on our Supplier Collaboration Hub, which is also commonly referred as Supplier Portal. So within this Supplier Portal, we have these sub-modules. If you see on top, we see sourcing management, vendor onboarding, P2P hub, ASN, and invoice automation. I mean, ASN is basically a commonly used term for invoices being sent in some part of the industry, and the e-procurement or e-catalog solution. So today we are focusing on the first three: the sourcing, vendor onboarding, and P2P. So just to add a business flow process layer on top of this, essentially a life cycle of a supplier in an organization starts with inception of a supplier through some sourcing process. Doesn't necessarily to be a sourcing process. It could be one of vendor onboarding through a source supplier request form as well. But typically, now generalizing this process would normally mean you start off with the sourcing process, run a tender, and finalize a supplier to onboard. Then a new supplier onboarding, which is basically supplier registration, managing the supplier data validation, whereas various certificates, bank details, validating bank, etc. Before it is created into ERP application. And then once supplier is onboarded and master data is created in ERP application, then running a complete P2P cycle with collaboration across purchase order, good to sitting, service confirmation if it's a service supplier, and invoice processing by flipping the POs or ASNs or service entry sheets as they call. These are sort of the focus. So if you see the processes it's supporting in an organization is source to contract or source to award, where a demand or requisition can be pushed into a sourcing platform in our product. It can run through RFQ process. It can go through an auction process, 3-bid buy process. It's also called. And after that particular process needs our bidders to be collaborating into the hub, and we need to share the documents securely, etc. So all that sourcing process is managed in that module. Outcome of the sourcing process is awarded supplier or vendor. That supplier onboarding process is in the second module. Everything to do with that and with the flexible workflow. So, for example, certain category related information for the supplier needs to be approved by category buyer. That needs to, the information submitted by the supplier during registration needs to go through the category buyer for approval, for example, or validation. The financial information submitted with the KYC document that needs to go to the finance and admin team. So how do this information get orchestrated in organization? Currently, or email ping-ponging of spreadsheets, that is sort of streamlined with this product. So it has, my colleague Nitin will show you demo and go into more details now, but we will have a deep dive of how it is enabled. So that part is also sort of taken care. And once the supplier is created, a master data is created, and we will also see how we create a purchase order and send it to the supplier, and supplier logs into their side of the portal and orchestrate the whole complete end-to-end process. So today, given the restriction of time, we will not be able to cover the invoice automation and e-procurement part of the thing, because we just have sort of 50 minutes left now, but we'll try our best to go through details with the first 3 modules, and subsequently, if you are interested for invoice automation and e-catalog, we have some webinar plan in future, as well as we have some previous webinars which we can share with you to demonstrate those capabilities as well. So that's essentially all about the sub modules within Supplier Collaboration Hub. If we go to the next slide, please. Yeah. So with sourcing and quotation, I will hand it over to my colleague Nitin from this point, and he will take you through more details of each module with the system demo. And I will encourage all the attendees to raise their questions, queries, and me and my panelists will be more than happy to answer those questions. Thank you for your time again, and over to you, Nitin, for the next part.
So, okay, thank you, Amit. So I would like to welcome all attendees for the webinar session, and I will be the host for the webinar. And so, first of all, we start with the sourcing management. But before going to the details, I would like to tell you about some basic informations about the sourcing. So initially, if we want to purchase something from the buyer or from the market, then we have to raise the quotations for that. And then we will get the quotations from the vendors, and then we compare that quotations. And after the comparisons, we will finalize the vendors. Then we raise the purchase order and for the documents for the transactions. So if we are following some offline process for the quotations, then it would be some challenges in that. So we have to face some, can you go to the next slide, Kaushik, please? Yes. Yes. So if we do not have any digital solutions to handling those quotations, then we have to follow some manual process. Here, buyer has to create some quotations form, then that quotation forms will be sent to the vendors, then vendor will update all those informations in that form. Then buyer has to compare that quotations with the multiple vendors, and after the quotation, buyer has to take some approvals from the different authorities available in the companies. And after finalizing that quotations, we would select that quotations for the raising the purchase order and for the documents. So these quotations offline, so to manage these quotations offline, it would be a difficult task. So it includes some manual process, because here we have to prepare some Excel copies. Manually, we have to send all those copies to our vendors on an email. Then again, we have to make some comparisons in that. So this is also a manual process. And then again, we have to take the approval for that quotations from our authority. So all this process is a manual, and it would take much time to confirm the quotations and procure that material from that vendors. So just coming to the next slide. Yes. Yes. So TantraMind provide some solution over that. So here you can see one diagram. On the left hand side, there will be SAP ECC S4 or any other ERP, and the right hand side you can see the Supplier Collaboration Platform. Okay, so the activity will start from creating the purchase requisitions. That activity will start in a ERP itself. Then that activity, that purchase order requisitions, we pull it to our Supplier Collaborations Platform. Then we create the RFQ, means request for quotations for a multiple vendors. So for that quotations, we assign a different vendors, and then we send that quotations to the multiple vendors. So in Supplier Collaboration Platform, here you can see the vendor A and vendor B. Here you can see one role on above, buyer. So buyer has created some quotations and send that quotations, request for quotations, and send that request to the multiple vendors, to vendors A and vendor B. Then vendor A and vendor B quote their best price and send again these quotations to the buyer. Then if buyer is not satisfied with the rate which is quoted by the vendors, so again buyer asks for the revisions. So if the vendor agree with that revision, then vendor will revise the rate for that quotation. And after revision, the buyer will lock that quotations, because now after locking, the buyer will not be able to send the quotations, not be able to quote their rates there. And after log the quotations, buyer will compare those quotations on a platform itself. And after compare the quotation, it will finalize one quotations between multiple quotations. And after complete the quotation, send that request to the SAP to create the purchase orders. And again, that purchase order will be created in a backend ERP system. So that activity will be automated. We no need to enter the data there. Our system will automatically create the purchase order in your backend ERP system. And again, that created purchase order will be available on the portal. It will be displayed to the vendor as well as for the buyer. So we will see how this process will happen in our system. So I'm just going to share my screen.
So Nitin, if you don't mind, I think it's time for a poll. So before you start your demonstration, we can have a quick poll. So yes, I'll request the attendees to address the poll questions. The question will appear on your screen. Yes. So just a quick one. How many vendors do you have? Please make your choices. Thank you, everyone. Nitin, please go ahead.
Yes. Okay, so now as a buyer, I want to send some requests to the multiple vendors so that I can compare the quotations which we received from a different vendors. And after the comparisons, I will finalize one quotation and send that quotation to the backend ERP system. So for that, I'm logging as a buyer to create the quotation. So after login, I will see one RFQ tab is there. I click on that. So now I want to create the quotations. So here we can see one tile, that is new tile. I will click on that. After click on that, you can see one create RFQ button. So I'm click on that button. Once I click on that button, I have to fill up some informations like RFQ date. My RFQ date will be 25th. I have to select some purchase organizations, currency, then quotation deadlines. So I'm here selecting the 27 for that. And if we have comments for that, then we can insert the comments here. So after that, I just click on the save button. Yes. So now I have to add some items which I want to procure and which I want to get some quotations from different vendors. So from here, I'm going to select some materials. I'm using some search box for that. Yes, so I want to procure some steel sheets from the vendors. So I'm selecting that material. Yes, and here I'm entering the target quantity. My target quantity is 100. And my unit of measure is kg. Unit price is 1. I want the delivery of this material on 31st. Okay, if I want to add some comments here so that I can add it here. So after click on save. Yes, so here you can see the another tab which is assign a vendor. So here we have temporarily registered some vendors on the supplier collaboration platform. And after finalizing the quotation, as Amit said, we are going to onboard that vendors on our supplier collaboration platform. So to assign the vendors, already I have registered 2 vendors. I'm click on that. Okay. So I'm searching those vendors here. Yes. So this is my vendor. So this is my first vendor. I click on the OK button. If I am adding another vendor for the comparison. Okay. So this is my second vendor. So now I have added the vendors in my request for quotations document. And if I want to attach some documents here, so if I want to give some design to the vendors, so as per the design, we want that material. So I can attach the documents here as well. Okay. So here we can see one button publish. So I'm going to click on that. So after click on the publish, our portal automatically generate the email notifications, and that email notification will send to that vendors. Just we have added there 2 vendors. And after getting the email notification, vendor will get the temporary user ID and password. And after that, vendor will log into the portal. I am just log into the portal as a vendor to quote the price. So already I sent the quotations to the Radius and Travis. These are my 2 vendors. So now I'm a login as a Radius. So this is the vendor code, temporary vendor code for that. Yes. So after login here, you can see the RFQ section. Okay. After click on that, here we can see the request. So I'm clicking on that. Yes. So here you can see the requested quotation will be visible here for the vendors. So as a vendor, I want to send the quotation and quoted rate. So I want to click on the more details button. Okay. So here you can see the item informations, and here you can see the quote. So sorry, I opened the wrong quotations. So this is the quotation just I have sent. Yes. Yes. So here you can see. So we have selected the materials. That material will be visible for the vendors. Here we can see the quantity. And here we can see the document section. If vendor wants to check the documents which is submitted by the buyer, so vendor can check and download the documents from here and see the documents from here. Okay. So now as a vendor, I want to quote the rates for that. So I click on the quote button. So after click on that, one pop-up box will open. Here I have to insert some target quantity. As a vendor, I'm inserting the 100 quantity here. Then I have to insert the price here. So I'm entering the price, which is 250. The payment terms will be immediate. The delivery date I kept as it is. And if I want to add some comments here, then I can add it. After click on save. Yes. So now vendor quoted their rates to the buyer. Buyer will get the email notifications, and that email notification, they will get the rates from that. Again, I'm logging as a Travis Parkings, which is our second vendors. Again, I'm click on the RFQ tab. Here I have a RFQ request sections. So requested quotations will be visible here. Here you can see the quotation. Yes. Okay, so now I'm quoting the price as a second vendor. So here also I'm inserting the quotation quantity 100. The net price for that is a 260. The payment terms will be 14 days, something like that. Again, I'm click on the same. So here you can see two vendor quoted their rates. Now I want to make some comparison. I want to log the quotations, or I want to revise the quotations as a buyer. So now I'm a login as in a portal as a buyer to see the quoted rates. Okay. So this is my yes. Again, I'm going to the RFQ tab. Here you can see the request. I'm clicking on that. After click on the request, at the end, I can see that quotations. Yes. So here you can see that quote tab. After click on that tab, you can see the quoted rates quote by the different vendors. Okay. So here, if I want to revise that quotations rate, then here we have one button for the revisions. If I click on that, I can ask the vendors for the revisions. Please make the rate 200 per kg. And click on the save. Again, I'm sending same revision request to my another vendor. Please make the rate 200 per kg. So after that, again, our portal will trigger email notifications that again, vendor will get the email notification. Vendor will revise the price on the portal if they want. So now I'm a login to the portal as a Radius. I want to revise some rates, which is requested by the buyer. So as a vendors, I'm logging to the portal. Again, I'm click on the RFQ tab. Here I can see the request. After click on that, here I can see that quotation. Okay. So here you can see the quote. Okay. Again, I'm click on the edit. So this is my previous rate. I'm changing it to the 200. Now again, I'm click on the save. And if you want to see the revision history, so revision history will be here. And also whatever our terms and conditions, that conditions will be maintained here. So if you click on that revision history, so the revision history also visible for a vendor as well as for the buyer. Okay. So now I want to finalize the quotations with the Radius. So as a buyer, I'm logging to the portal again. Again, I'm click on the RFQ tab. So here I can, in a request tab, I can see my quotations. So this is my quotations. So I'm going to log that quotations. I got the rate which I required. So I'm going to log that quotations. If I click on the log buttons, so that quotation will automatically move to the another tile. So I'm just click on the back button. So here you can see the respond tile. I'm click on that respond tile. So this is my quotations. So in respond tiles, buyer can compare that quotations with the multiple vendors. So if I want to compare the quotations, I click on the quote. Here I can select my material, and here we can see one button. So after click on the comparison, sorry, I have to select the material as well. So after click on the comparison form will open. Okay. So from the comparison, I know that that vendor have quoted the less rate. I'm going to finalize that vendors. So here I'm going to select that vendors. After click on the select, that vendor has been selected automatically. And here we can see the three options. We can create the info record, we can create the assignment, we can create the purchase orders. So right now I'm going to create the purchase order from that quotation. So I'm going to create that purchase order. So after click on the create, our portal will send request to the backend ERP system to create the purchase order from that. So before that, we have to onboard that vendor in our organizations. So we will see in the next part. So I will hand over to Amit to take the next part, which is our vendor onboarding.
Thanks, Nitin. If you go back to the slide pack, please. Just to go back to the sourcing process, I think what we have seen in the sourcing is the creation of a quote, quotation request, inviting suppliers or bidders, comparing the quote received from the suppliers, and then at the end of the process, responding, finalizing the quote to either create info record in SAP system or purchase order in SAP or any ERP system for that matter. Just one point I would highlight there is creation of a code doesn't necessarily need to be manual. It could be automated. So if there's a requisition in a ERP system that needs to be sourced, it can be replicated or through integration to create a request for quotation automatically on our portal. So we could enable the both-way automation at the point of requesting the receiving the quotation request from ERP, and then once the process is completed, pushing the purchase order info recorder in back into ERP. So that's was sourcing management. Now moving on to the vendor onboarding. So very next step, imagining a scenario where you have awarded or planning to award a bidder who is not available as a vendor in your system, and you want to onboard the vendor first before you could go ahead and do the business with the vendor. And you would, technically speaking, you need to have a vendor master record in ERP before we could raise the purchase order. So this is a process. So at the click of a button from the sourcing menu itself, we could trigger a vendor registration form to the supplier's contact. The supplier will receive the registration form. Supplier's contact will update the registration information, which could include the category related information as well. So we could configure the system such a way that the supplier, when he or she is receiving the request for registration, they will receive a specific category related form, and they will submit the category related questions apart from all the KYC documentation and other details that needs to be shared. It is also possible for suppliers contact to upload certifications along with the certification metadata like expiry dates, etc. If there is a requirement for them to submit their KYC document and certifications as well. That will, all the information submitted by the supplier would go to the right buyer for that category if it's category assigned. The validation for the category will happen. After the category validations, the finance team will validate the financial information, bank account details, etc. And once all the validations are completed, the supplier will, at the click of a button, the supplier will be created in a ERP system for SAP ERP system like S/4HANA and ECC. We have out-of-box integration, but same can be done for any ERP. In terms of further information missing, for example, or certain data incorrectly submitted by the supplier, there could be a process like the ping pong between the supplier and the contact person can enable directly to the workflow mechanism. If certain aspect of the supplier submission is rejected or requested to be updated, that workflow orchestration is managed within the system so that the request will go back to the supplier contact. The person will update the necessary details and resubmit it back. So it's a very sleek process, trying to get rid of all the offline communication and manage this process with the workflow platform supported in the system. So that's basically the process the vendor onboarding enables. We have, just before I hand it over to Nitin, for a quick deep dive into the system. There could be capability to add bells and whistles. So for example, if we need to validate bank account detail when the supplier is submitting the bank details, just to ensure and prevent the frauds, we could have integration with the bank checking services as well. And we could add bells and whistles like that based on your requirement. So that's basically theory of vendor onboarding process. Now for demo, I'll hand it back to Nitin. Nitin, if you want to quickly show the process.
Yes.
Just conscious of time, Kaushik, how are we doing with the time?
Yep, I think we have 15 more minutes for the other slides, so we can move from the demo, move to the demo.
Okay.
By skipping these slides. Yeah.
Yes. So I will jump into the demo, rather explaining the slides back. Okay, I'm sharing my screen. So just a minute. Yes. So already we finalized one vendors through the sourcing process, and we finalized the price as well. So now we have to onboard that vendor Radius. The name of the vendor is a Radius, and we have to onboard that vendor in our ERP system. So the activity will start from the buyer. So just a minute. Yes. So the activity will start from the buyer user. So buyer has to log into the portal to send the invitations to the vendors. I'm clicking and entering the credentials of the buyer user and click on the login. So after click on the login button, you can see the vendor registration tab will be visible for the buyer. To send the invitations to the vendor, here I can see the new tile. After click on that, we can see the list of invited vendors on the portal. So these are the list of the invited vendors. And if I want to invite the vendors, which I have finalized with the sourcing process, I click on the add button. I have to fill up some informations, the name of the vendor. I'm adding the Radius here. I'm adding some email. I'm adding my email address here. I'm adding the phone number, whatever we can add. Here I'm adding the name of the company, Radius System Limited. So after that, we can see here, okay, sorry, the mobile number. So here we have a validations. We have to enter the TAN number here. Sorry, screen is get refresh. Radius. So TAN number I have to add here. Okay. Then again, I'm adding the company name. So after adding all the informations, here we can see two buttons. One is a save and one is a invite. So I'm clicking on the invite button. So once I click on the invite button, our system will send one email notifications to the vendors, and then vendor will get the link in that form. So we have to wait for a few seconds. I will receive some email from our vendor portal. Just And also here we can see the save button. So if we want to invite that vendor in a future, then we click on the save button. And then if we want to invite that vendor in a 2 days, 3 days, or any time, then we can again open that vendor invitation form. Also there we will see two buttons. Again, we will click on the invite button. So again, our portal will send the email notifications to the vendors. So just a minute, I'm not getting the email notifications. So we have to wait for a.
We can, in the given time, we can skip this step. Maybe we will show the email separately. It takes few seconds.
Okay.
So let's move over to next one, please.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So after the invitations, vendor will get the one link in that email. Vendor has to click on that link, and after click on that link, one form will open, and then vendor has to fill up that all informations with that registration form. I will show you the registration form here. Yes. So this is like a form vendor will get. Okay, vendor has to fill up all the informations, company informations, then the registered office informations. So all the informations vendor has to fill up there, trading address, then account receivable telephone numbers, then other information like supplier financial data. And also here we have another sections for a document. So here vendor can upload their documents like GST registration certificates, PAN numbers, and all these things. Okay. And after fill up all the required informations and submitting the documents, vendor has to click on that submit button. After click on the submit button, vendor will get the then buyer will get the email notification, and it intimate the buyer that vendor has submitted all the required informations. Now buyer has to log into the portal and verify the details in the portal itself. So just a minute, I'm going to show that details as well. Yes.
Yeah, just a quick reminder that we are running out of time and we have 5 to 10 minutes more.
Yeah.
Just for your reference. Yes, please continue.
Yes, yes. So hold on. Just I need to check.
Okay, Nitin, can we move on to the next part then?
Yes, yes. Yes. So yes. So once we receive the email from the with the registration form that fill up by the vendors, that registration form will be visible in a submission section. So in submission section, a buyer has to check all the informations which is fill up by the vendors. And after the if the buyer is satisfied with the informations which is submitted by the vendors, then when that buyer can approve that informations, or a buyer can reject that informations as well. And as a buyer approve that informations, then that informations that form will be visible in a approved section. So here finance user has to approve the informations which is related to the finance department, like bank account numbers, tax documents, GST registration certificates. So all these documents or all this information will be verified by the finance users. And after that, once we finance user verify all the information, then that form will be visible in a registered sections. So in registered section, our sourcing user will enter the informations like company code, purchase organizations, whatever the informations which is necessary to create the vendors in our backend ERP system. So here we have some forms there. So if I click on that, so that buyer has to add some informations like account group. Here, if I want the vendor code, that vendor code, if you want to give in your ERP system, here as a sourcing user, I have to enter some vendor code here. Then tax informations, I have to select some tax information here. Also, I can I can select the company code information. So all these informations will be selected by the sourcing users. And once sourcing user click on the submit button, our portal send request to the backend ERP system to create the vendors. And that created vendors will be again available on our portal for the further process, like to raise the PO, because already we finalize one vendors, and right now we have onboarded that vendors on our ERP system. Now the next process in our supplier collaboration platform is to raise the purchase order from our backend ERP system and send that same purchase order through the portal, so that vendor can access the schedule, access the price and all these things on the portal. Yes. So I will hand it over to Amit for the next.
Thank you. Thank you, Nitin. So I think just to recap, we have seen the sourcing part of it where the bidder was awarded. We have seen a bidder then given a registration form and requested to register, invited to register to our organization. We've seen the registration form being filled, being reviewed, and we saw the integration capability to send the registration back into SAP as well. Now once the supplier is available in ERP system, for example, SAP, the next step in the process is to raise the purchase orders. Now the purchase order could be, depending on what type of supplier it is, we could push a button on the sourcing screen to create one-off purchase order, or we could create an info record and feed it into, for example, for direct material, stock material, we could feed it into MRP process, and MRP will create a purchase order or delivery schedule. Once that is done in SAP system, the purchase order information or delivery schedule, depending on what type of supplier it is and what type of work it is, would get reflected into the portal, will be transferred to the portal for the supplier, and the supplier contact person or relevant role within supplier side would be able to receive that purchase order and confirm the purchase order. This for purchase order further then will be flipped, as we call it, as like referred to create something called advanced shipping notification. This advanced shipping notification then can be submitted back into ERP along with other documentation for goods inwarding or service confirmation, which will include gate entry, get entry pass creation. There is on ASN, Nitin will definitely touch on that in more details, but on shipping notification on the vendor portal, we could create a barcode which can be scanned when the goods arrive at our gate, and that will sort of links to the downloading process and automation in the good receipt process. So for a typical manufacturing company, we have that sort of designed and built for automating the inwarding process as much as possible. And we will see a quick demo of this. However, the vendor portal do not stop at providing an automation of shipping notification or good receipt process. It also then goes into next level that the shipping notification or purchase order can be flipped or referred to create invoice document. And this invoice document then be submitted back into ERP as a Myro invoice in a park status, for example, for someone in accounts payable to review it and submit and post it. So there's quite a few detailed functionality for supplier collaboration, right from purchase order sharing or delivery schedule, for that matter, to sharing that with the supplier to confirm the schedule, update the dates, update the quantities if we allow them to do so. Supplier to refer to the purchase order and create shipping notification, which will generate the physical prints, which can be sent along with the goods, and at the customer end, they can be scanned to automate the inwarding and good receiving process. We can then have an invoicing capability. This invoicing capability is again can be referred, invoice can be created looking at referencing to the purchase order lines or shipping notification lines. This invoice creation also can be linked for e-invoicing purpose to IRPA portal for e-invoicing checks. And it also supports, last but not least, service scenario, wherein if a service purchase order is shared over the portal to a service provider instead of material provider, the service provider can confirm the services completed by the supplier by themselves, which then can, for example, in an SAP system, can create something called a service entry sheet, which can be then confirmed, and this confirmation can proceed to further invoice submission from the supplier. It's very similar to the shipping notification scenario. So to look into more details for this, I will hand over to Nitin to go through the quick demo, and we'll take it from there.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Amit. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again. So, sorry, just I received the mail from our vendor portal. So this is the mail the vendor will get from our application, and vendor has to click on that link. And after vendor click on that link, vendor has to fill up all the required information. So already I fill up when Amit was explaining all this thing, and I have sent back all the informations to the backend ERP system, and backend ERP system have created these vendors in a vendor portal. And also with the sourcing activity, I just click on the create button, so that our vendor portal send the request to SAP or a backend ERP system to create the purchase order. So just I sent a request to the SAP, and SAP has created one purchase order, and that purchase order will be visible to the vendors. So now I'm a login as a vendors. So just click on the link. So now I'm a login as a vendor. So this is my credentials, and click on the login. So here I can see the purchase order section. After click on the purchase order section, here I can see the different tiles. One is a open, close, all, and delivery schedule. So the PO just we have created through the automation, that PO will be visible in an open tile. All the open PO will be there. And once a vendor will deliver all the materials again that purchase order, then that purchase order will automatically move to the closed tile. And in all sections, we have a open as well as a closed tile. And in a delivery schedule section, vendor will be able to see the schedule of that materials, delivery schedule of that material. So now from the system, just we have finalized one vendors to procure some steel sheets, hundreds of kg from that vendors. And our system automatically create the purchase order in a backend ERP system, and that purchase order will be visible on the vendor portal. Now, as a vendor, I want to see that purchase order. For that, we have finalized the rate, which is 200 per kg. So at the end, let me check. Yes. So this is my purchase order. If I click on the more details, I can see. So this is my material. Same material was in a request for quotation section, RFQ section, order quantity, the rate on which the vendors and as well as a buyer agreed on that, and the other informations. Okay. So now as a vendors, I received the purchase order from the company. Now my role is to send that material, that steel sheet to the company. So I have prepared, I have arranged the material. Now I want to send that material to the company. So for that, from the portal, I'm going to raise one invoice that we call a ASN, Advanced Shipment Notifications. Once I click on that, it will create the ID. Okay, so this is our ASN ID. Here I have to insert some informations, invoice number. I have to insert some ship from informations from the delivery information to Pune. The packing slip number, if the vendor have, I'm adding here PKG SLP 1. Shipping date, my shipping date is today's date 25. The delivery date will be 27. Okay. Now I'm adding the item informations here. if your PO have multiple items, then we can select the items from that box. But now my PO has only one item. I click on the OK button. So here I have to insert the invoice quantity. I'm sending the 100 quantity to there. So again, you can see the button here. Once I click on that, the item will be visible here. Here also, as a vendor, I can insert the tracking information as well. So if we want to insert some carrier name, tracking number, bill of landing number, tracking date, so all these informations will be visible here. If as a vendor, I want to insert some size of the materials, like right now, just I have added some steel sheets, and I want to insert some size of the material, then I can insert the size here. Also, I can insert the transport details. And here also, we can see the document section. So in document section, as a vendor, I can attach my hard copy, a soft copy of an invoice, as well as our portal will automatically generate the barcode generated ASN copy. Just a minute, it will take time.
This printout that will be generated can be sent across with the delivery, which then can be scanned on the gate for the customer, and an automatic inbound delivery could be created at that point, or if there is already a process within the inbound delivery to create sort of draft good receipt document, that can also be created. So there are various different inwarding processes that we support depending on the customer requirement. If we could move on to the next step, given we are running out of time, Nitin, please.
Yes. Let me share my screen again.
Yeah, meanwhile, if you don't mind, it seems that we have a question in our question and answer column. So the question is, what are the parameters used to check the duplication of vendor onboarding?
Yeah, good questions. I think we do have multiple parameters for vendor onboarding. One is it starts with name, address, and GST number. These are the basic pre-built validations that we have enabled. If there is any, and also of course DUNS number. There's one more I missed to mention. So we got this 4 out of box. But if there are any more questions, any more validation requirements are there, we could enable them as well. Those are the pre-built that comes with the solution.
Thank you so much for addressing that wonderfully. So till Nitin is facing some technical issue, should we run a poll? The last poll, we have skipped few. So I'll request everyone to address this poll as well. Yes. So the poll is on screens. Which process automation are you looking in your organization? It is a multiple choice. You can choose more than one answer over here. Kindly make your choices. Thank you.
You can see one more question. Is our product support the native SAP integration?
Thanks, Kaushik. Yes, the answer is short answer is yes. We have pre-built integration with both SAP applications, ERP, ECC ERP, as well as S/4HANA. We also has enabled integration with S/4HANA Cloud. So all leading SAP ERP applications we have in out-of-box integration. We have the integration across multiple business processes. So first of all, to enable all these processes, there has to be a master data, for example, to run an RFQ process or to integrate a requisition coming from ERP um, to our sourcing platform. It needs to have materials, services, when existing vendor master information, payment terms, unit of measures, and lots of other master data information that needs to be available. So we have master data replication, out of box integration to, as soon as we kind of deploy the solution, we have the master data sync integration that is enabled. And depending on what sort of business processes we want to run, so at the back of the sourcing process, if we want to enable purchase order integration or a scheduling agreement integration or info record integration, we can enable those. Those are coming out of box as well, and so on and so forth for each module. So in vendor master vendor onboarding module, we have vendor integration process. So once the approval is done by buyer and the finance team on the portal, it can then integrate with ERP system. So we can push the supplier to send it to ERP, and it will create, depending on which backend ERP system it is from SAP, it will either create a business partner or vendor master record in ERP. And as P2P collaboration hub is involved, we have a complete collaboration for PO replication to supplier. It supports delivery schedule replication as well. We do have inbound delivery creation at the back of ASN being submitted, shipping notification being submitted from the supplier side. We also have service entry sheet creation, submission, creation in ERP system, both ERP, SAP, S4HANA, and ECC, if the supplier is confirming a service on the portal. And of course, lastly but not the least, any invoice submitted from the portal gets created into ERP system as a parked invoice, and we could enable it as a posted invoice as well, depending on the customer requirement. So that's about the integration. Just wanted to check if Nitin, you're okay to proceed, or shall I take some?
Yes, Amit, I'm okay to proceed.
Yeah,
so I'm sharing my screen again. Okay, so just we have create one ASN. Vendor have created one ASN by flipping the purchase order. That ASN will be visible on the portal. So if I click on the more details button, so our portal will create vendor will upload some documents that we can say the delivery challan, packing slip. If vendor have some another soft copies, then vendor can upload that copies here. Also, I told you before, vendor can upload the transport related informations, dimensions related informations, tracking informations. Also, our portal will generate ASN documents, in which documents we have some barcode. So that documents also automatically create by our supplier collaboration platform. So here you can see that document our portal have created. If I click on the download button, so here you can see, so this is the QR coded documents. Here we have all the informations related to the delivery. Then vendor will attach same document with that dispatch document. And when we receive that material at our factory gate, then there we will have some QR code to scan this QR code from the ASN. Then that QR code, after successfully scanning, put up all the informations in a backend ERP system, and through that informations we can automate certain things like inbound delivery, good receipts, and other things. So this is our portal generated documents. And once we receive the material, we could create some good receipts. So that good receipt also visible onto the portal. So I'm going to the another sections. Yes. So here we have a good receipts. So just we created some ASNs, and and from the ASN we received some goods at our factory, and we create some good receipts. That good receipt also visible on the portal. Okay, so these are the good receipts. If I click on the more details button, so as a vendor I can see, so these are the goods that I have delivered to the company, and company receive this much amount of goods. And if the buyer do some rejection, so that rejection also available on the portal. So this is the good receipt. Then again, I'm click on the another part, invoice. Yes. So once we receive the invoice from the vendor, that invoice we need to post in a backend ERP system. So that posted invoices also visible on the portal. So these are the invoice just we have posted in a backend ERP system, and that invoice is also visible onto the portal. So that vendor will know that these are the invoices which is accepted by the buyers, and these are the payments that buyer has to do for the vendors. Okay. So if I click on the more details button, also I can see the details of that invoice as well. Okay. Again, then we have a overdue and outstanding reports. So if I click on that, so here you can see as a vendor, I can see the net due amount, net clear amount. If I click on the more details button, so as a vendor, I can see the complete ledger for that company. So these are the invoices raised by the vendors, and these are the payments which is cleared by the buyers or a buyer company. So these are the payments. So if I want to see the open invoices, I just have to type here open, then I can see these are the open invoices, and the consolidated value of these open and close invoices we can see here. So these are the due amount that as a buyer I have to pay to the vendors, and these are the clear amount which is already paid to the vendors. So like that, our portal will cover all the P2P process in this scenario. So for the next, I will hand over to Amit for that.
Thanks, Nitin. Let's move on to the next section, Kaushik. Right.
Yes, we have addressed few. The question there are more new questions. Is it customizable according to our requirement?
The short answer is yes, up to a certain degree. So we have a core product which works with industry best practices, but there would be if additional requirements. For example, I gave an example of validating the bank details when the supplier is submitting the registration information. At that point, if you want to validate the bank details, we could definitely enable such scenario, such integration. But yes, we are flexible. We can take it case by case basis. But idea is to run the best practices in the industry to when it comes to supplier collaboration. So the short answer is yes, but need further discussion about what exact customization it is. I hope it clears the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you. Yeah, you can proceed with the slide back. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I just wanted to kind of wrap the session up from this point forward. I hope you found the session useful in terms of your plans to pursue and enable the efficient supply chain collaboration for your organization. We at Tantraminds would be really excited if you want to understand this in more details, understand how for your particular scenario the portal can be enabled. We are more than happy to configure the portal to your needs. That there is a slight difference between configuration and customization. So configuration is to align with your requirements, and customization is to make technical changes. So we are very keen to configure it and give it to you so that you can run your business processes alignment with the business best practices. And then moving on to our customer group. So we have a huge number of customer base in India and overall in Europe. Some of the customers who are already using our products are Yazaki, SM Auto, and Premium. And if you are willing to understand more details about what we have done with the customer and customer success stories, we're more than happy to get in touch with you. Our sales team, Priyanka and Venkat, will definitely love to connect with you and provide more details about what we have done and how successfully these customers are running our applications and managing their business process efficiently. So with that, I would like to thank you for your time again, and appreciate your efforts to join us. And if there are any further queries, we will share this slide pack with you. Our details are there in this slide, and we'll look forward to connecting with you and answering any further queries that you may have. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, speakers, for your insight and the valuable information you have given to all of us. It's definitely been a very good session. So, lastly, I would like to thank give gratitudes to the attendees. Thanks for sticking around, and especially thank you for joining us in this webinar. We appreciate your participation. Feel free to contact, as mentioned, that we are happy to answer all your queries and to take the discussion forward. You can get all the details on the screen. Please feel free to contact us, and hope we'll hear back from you. Thank you so much. Here I wind up the session. Thank you.